Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham, and this, of course, is Talk, and it's the one big show at the end of the week where we look back on all the plankery that's been going on, and you don't have to worry about deciding who is the biggest plank, because we do all that for you. It's literally an oven-ready show. Jeremy Kyle is here. It's the return of Alex Phillips. Great to see you in pink. Leonie Emirali's back for the first time, I think, in 2025. And, of course, Steve and Alan is here as well. We guess we should get right to it. Jeremy Kyle, what do you have for us? You normally kick off with Keir Starmer.
No. And this week quite literally caused me to almost self-combust on Talk. 110. I'm going to nominate 110 councils.
Yeah.
This is how mad this country has become. 110 councils across this country, we were discovering this week, have spent £141 million of your taxpayer money. Because when those poor migrants come over in the boat and they're traumatised and they get the four-star hotel and they sleep nice in cotton sheets and they get chicken in the basket and they wake up in the morning and they see a GP.
The new jacket they get now as well.
They get money, they get everything.
Yeah.
We're slightly worried, or rather the councils are, these people might get bored and they might not have things to do. Are you ready for this? I can't. £141 million of taxpayers' money has bought PlayStations, games consoles, DJing lessons, Pilates lessons, yoga lessons, driving lessons, tickets to Premier League football matches, just so they feel OK. This is on the back of councils suffering massively and raising council tax, despite that Labour government saying they want 141 million quid on a bunch of people in this country who've paid nout in and are taking the mickey out of people who are
That's
starving.
ridiculous.
Honestly, games consoles.
Aren't they also teaching them circus skills as well?
Yes.
I mean,
this is true.
I've got an idea, right? Why don't you put them in the lion tamer's cage?
I thought you were going to suggest in the cannon and fire them back over the channel.
That's a good idea. They're brilliant.
Are you allowed to do that?
No.
But
Neither are you allowed to break into the country on a dinghy.
Yeah.
But the circus skills would have been handy. You know, back in the day when people used to smuggle themselves in lorries.
Yeah.
They could have done it in a mini.
Yeah.
And just have about 100 of them getting out like clowns do in the car. They could fit 100 in.
And all that, bang.
But on a serious note, 141 million quid when we're
That's a lot of money.
That fills a lot of potholes. A lot of potholes, 140 million quid. That's what
Making
councils should be
illegal,
doing.
and I don't know how you sell that. I don't know how you say to people north of Watford Gap, because, hey, people, there are people north of Watford Gap who have never asked for jack, who have paid their taxes, brought their kids up, never broken the law. They go, oh, great, so you can arrive here and get a games console, be taught how to perform in a circus.
And get tickets to, which is like gold dust. You can't get tickets to Premier League football matches.
People can't afford to go to Premier League football matches.
No.
You can if you're a migrant. So the entire councils that are doing this for me, planks.
Haven't we also got a story that's just come in today, as we're about to film this, about how they're now also being taught that if they need to, if anyone's not very nice to them, they can report, if they prefer to the police any non-crime hate incidents that might be affecting their ability
so
to have a nice
traumatised
life.
are they, these migrants? You know, maybe in the middle of a PlayStation game, somebody's horrible to them. Labour control councils have said, you come to us and report the people that are nasty and we'll send the police round. Whereas, if you're working and your shop gets burgled or you're walking down the street and your watch gets nicked, you can start off, you ain't seeing a copper. You get stabbed.
Right.
You're an 8-year-old child who gets raped.
Doesn't it go back to two-tier Keir, doesn't it?
It does.
It's that sense of two-tier. That, don't worry if you can't get Premier League football tickets. Don't worry if you can't get PlayStations. Don't worry, we'll give it to the migrants.
But you know what? To me, it's
unbelievable.
It's gone past even farcical now. This sort of story is the very reason why this country's on the turn, because this is disgusting.
Because people have had enough. They're sick to death of it, and they want to see somebody doing something about it.
Absolutely.
It will be interesting, though, to see an actual hate incident be when someone throws a bucket of what you think is water but turns out just to be shiny bits of paper.
Yeah, from the circus.
I've always thought that's a hate incident. Sure.
Yeah, it must be, because it's very
traumatising.
It's very traumatising. I mean, imagine, because you'd probably be a bit sort of punch drunk from
how would you be able to play your PlayStation?
Suddenly someone starts throwing something at you.
How would you be able to play your PlayStation for hours? You'd be traumatised.
Right. So what's the worst thing that happened today? Somebody unplugged my Xbox. I mean,
I might have come from a war-torn country, but I didn't get to see Liverpool play this weekend. I'm quite traumatised. I had to see my private GP again.
Right. Alex, you've got Keir Starmer.
I always have Keir Starmer.
Yes.
It's the gift that doesn't stop giving. And this time we find out that he was breaking lockdown rules because he was seeing his voice coach.
Yeah.
Which is just, it invites, ridicule anyway, because the man's got the worst voice in politics other than Ed Miliband.
How can it be a voice coach? I mean, it could be anyone.
He said to me, she went round the
house,
with a mask. How could she see his lips?
That's ridiculous.
Here's a picture of Keir Starmer. That's been done especially for the show.
Brilliant.
Hello. I was in the Dr. Zhivago film, if you might remember.
Whatever that voice coach is being paid, she doesn't deserve a penny of it. Surely we've got to deliver change.
Change, yes.
Who on earth has taught him to speak like that? Even for goodness
Fixing
sake.
the foundations.
Yeah.
I mean, it turns out, though, that the woman in question, Leonie Mellinger, has got more to her than meets the eye. Pictures of her running in the tabloids this week show her topless in a film that she was in, which doesn't really bear mentioning. She was also married, believe it or not, and you may be too young to remember this, to a bloke called Robin Asquith, who used to be an actor who starred in a series of soft porn films called Confessions of a Window Cleaner, stroke Confessions of a, I don't know, burglar, Confessions of a plumber.
Basically, it was Confessions in a dirty way.
It was basically a guy... It was basically
Not that we watched it, did we? No.
It was a sort of Benny Hill style format of, oh, my goodness me, my trousers have just fallen down. Oh, look, there's a woman, ironing her clothes in her underwear and her knickers have just fallen off. But I mean, it was that kind of film. And she was married to him.
Yep, she was.
Amazing.
And Confessions of a Prime Minister is what we've been wanting. It's the sequel everyone's been wanting.
Yeah.
Maybe that's... Because, look, some of these meetings around Christmas, is he really going to be having voice coaching things around Christmas? He doesn't work after 6:30 on a Friday.
Have you got something stuck in your
kind of
Have you got
oral
something
coaching?
stuck
He
in your
obviously
throat?
needed a degree of oral...
Gratification.
Thank you, on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And she provided the oral gratification
I'm not
for
buying.
him.
I'm not buying.
He might have.
Right?
Hey.
I'm not buying this idea that despite the fact that every other time that he consulted with her during COVID, they did it on Zoom, but she had to, on Christmas Eve, get on a train from Brighton, travel all the way to London to see the then leader of the opposition in person while she was wearing a mask. I'm just not buying it.
There's a serious point here, because also he did say when Partygate was all going on and Boris got booted out for having a slice of cake, he said, I will resign if I'm caught to have broken any rules.
Right.
And as Mike said to me yesterday, I'll
We're
tell you what, the
waiting.
police need to grow a pair of balls and do something about it now, because people have complained from this station. The police should investigate that. I think they got away with Durham with that beer and curry night. I thought that was a con.
Right.
You're exactly right. What's the difference between him and Johnson?
There isn't any. There isn't any.
There's no
None.
difference at all. And they've now conceded, in fact, the Labour Party, that she was not a key worker. Right, so if she wasn't a key worker.
Of course she wasn't.
No, I know, but that was the original line.
I
Was that it was all within the rules because she was a key worker. Of course, she's not a bloody key worker.
Do you not remember
She might have
standing
had a key.
outside your house and clapping for the voice coaches?
Yeah.
I remember. They were essential.
Yeah.
Well done.
I mean, we've all had one, haven't we?
Stephen N. Allen, you see.
Steve N. Allen. That's it.
Steve N.
Now,
Allen.
Prime Minister's Questions was lively this week. Have a look.
In December 2020, I was in my office working on the expected Brexit deal. What were they doing? Suitcases of booze into Downing Street, partying and fighting, vomiting up the walls, leaving the cleaners to remove red wine stains. That's the difference. I was working, they were partying.
Vomiting up the walls. Well, he was getting his vocal cords tickled, I presume, wasn't he? Or something of that ilk.
He was tickling something in the ivories, maybe. But see, it's interesting. Not an answer. The fact is, they should get him on this.
Yeah, they
because
should. Because he's the usual
no difference.
sanctimonious, hypocritical, completely and utterly devoid of any sense of shame. And instead of just as well coming clean and going, yeah, actually, in hindsight, it probably wasn't the best idea to have done that. Instead of which, when he gets asked about it by Jack Elson from The Sun, when he was out glad-handing with the NATO boss over in Brussels, when he was asked, did you break any COVID rules? Of course not.
Harry Cole said to me, brilliant. I said, Jack did really good answering the question. The Sun, he went, yeah, all the main news networks wouldn't answer that question. That's the question everybody wants. Just quickly to everybody. I know we say it every day. Do we know? Can we honestly not say this is the most unpopular Prime Minister in 8 short months ever in the history of this country?
I think we can say that.
There can't be one more unpopular than this, can there?
I don't think there's ever been a more unpopular Prime Minister.
I think he's a busted flush.
Certainly not as quickly to become as unpopular as he became. He became pretty... I mean, I was talking about how unpopular he was in July.
Yeah.
He was only in about 2 weeks.
No way back, by the way, for him.
No, he won't make it. He won't be at the next election with the Labour leader. No way.
There's no chance.
Busted flush, Liam?
I think so. Labour MPs, a lot of them have got small majorities. They're going to be looking at him saying he's a liability.
Yeah.
We need someone else.
And
he's
in
also-
rural seats,
And he's
by the
so
way.
used. He gets everything wrong. Everything he makes any comment about, he manages to mangle the words. He's still, who could forget, the sausages.
We've got to release the sausages.
I mean,
This is the best impression.
great.
I've been searching for impressions all week. Leon,
I'll give him some voice coaching, Keir.
Yeah.
Just open your mouth a tiny bit more. Just
Right.
a tiny bit more will do the job.
God, he was taught how to speak while wearing a mask. That's just like that, and he kept going, didn't he?
He definitely had something in his mouth.
Yeah, had something in his mouth, that's for sure. Let's have a look at the lovely Leonie Mellinger, or Mellinger, who's very proud, by the way. She's got a website in which the top line of it is, "Thank you so much for everything. I could never have done it without you." And it's from Keir Starmer. That's his quote. Now, I don't know what it means. I don't know what he's talking about, but let's have a look at what she has to say.
I'm Leonie Mellinger. I'm an actress and voice coach. And I have come into the news recently due to a book that was written about Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour Party, where it was revealed that I was his voice coach back in 2020. There has been much criticism levelled at myself and Sir Keir Starmer as to whether or not we might have broken lockdown rules. I want to assure everybody that we absolutely did not break the rules, as I was classed as an essential worker. It was truly essential for me to help him dig deep, go into his inner self, and find that leader that we all knew he truly was.
That's actually so good, you would think it was the original
Well,
woman.
you know what?
That's the woman who does Angela Rayner as well.
Right,
She's
when I
very
was
funny.
at journalism school, we actually had a session of having the BBC's voice coach come in, right, and take us all into a room, and I thought, oh, they're going to pick up on the rotorism I have, that I can't really roll my arse properly. No, they didn't care about that. They're just a load of crystal shaggers. You heard that sort of like, weird hippie music, and that is what it is. That is what voice coaching is.
Did you
all
not love
about.
as well the touch where she's got James O'Brien as a picture on the wall behind her? Yeah, that bloke that used to do a show. Remember him?
Should we don't? Yeah,
We won't give him too much. We won't give him too much credit. No. But yeah, I mean, once again, every week that passes, Keir Starmer gets nominated for Plank of the Week for something which you could never have predicted. I mean, last week when we put him up for Plank of the Week, I can't even remember what it was for, but it was for some ludicrous thing. This week, now he's got a rogue voice coach.
It is like it's like
what will it be
like
next
a car
week?
crash,
What will it be?
And it's either. And I mean, we have this conversation a lot. Is it incompetence? Is it sheer arrogance? Is he that up his own backside? I don't understand. You did this as a job. You know about politics. We're just two oddbods. But nobody in his ear going, mate, you look like on a daily basis.
Do you know what my favourite line of the week was before they got stuck into the voice coach was the fact that even inside of his own party, they're criticising the way he does everything and say he's not much of a leader. Morgan McSweeney is in there, having got rid of Sue Gray, right? And they actually, and even Morgan McSweeney describes him as like an HR manager, right? But the best, I think, analogy of him was that he thinks he's driving the train, but he's actually like the guy that sits at the front of the Docklands Light Railway, who's only there in case something terrible happens, but the train's actually automatic. And it's running.
Yeah.
And
so people not in London, that's the self-drive
you're in
train.
charge of the train. He's like, oh, great. But actually he's not at all in charge of the train. Unbelievable. Anyway, Leon, over to you. The NHS.
Yeah, the NHS. The cash-strapped NHS.
Cash-strapped, yeah. Crisis-ridden.
Are spending bucket loads on, guess
voice
what?
coaches.
Yeah.
Equality, diversity and inclusion managers, some of which are earning £52,000, £57,000, which is more than the head of cyber security at the Treasury should be earning. So that's
twice as much as any nurse is getting.
Twice as much as any nurse is getting.
If anyone snoops on the Treasury, they're just going to be, there's no money in Britain.
Well, that's true. Maybe it's an easy job. But this money, they spent 750 grand in total over the past few months on diversity and inclusion.
And this is as Donald Trump is literally firing people from these jobs in America.
Firing people from the job. And I think we need to do the same in this country, which is go through a spreadsheet, where is money being wasted, re-divert that 750 grand to ambulance call-outs, to hospital beds, to doctors and nurses who can actually fix us, rather than making sure that we've got, the right words and we're saying the right things. Because it's
these are the people
ridiculous.
that come up with all this ridiculous lexicon, aren't they? With chest feeding, and people with periods,
people, not women,
pregnant people,
and I just think, look,
people with prostates.
Who cares who's making you get better? As long as they're making you get better, that's what the NHS should be focused on. And it just annoys me with the NHS because we spend.
I think I'd prefer
so much
not
money
for
on
a man in a dress to make me feel better. I think I would actually prefer a woman.
I come from another land. I remember when women had wombs.
Yes, I do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Strange.
Yeah, it is.
Women didn't
what you
have
mean is-
penises, they had wombs.
You remember when people with wombs had wombs? I think that's how you meant to say it. That's how you got to do it.
Very good.
Rocking it today,
He is,
isn't he?
absolutely
Stephen
right.
N. Allen.
Steve N. Allen.
He's auditioning for my thing, isn't he?
Is he?
He wants to
Yeah,
get a
you
woman.
better not say too much about that.
No,
because
no.
people will find out. But yeah, also, I thought that they were supposed to be doing away with all this stuff. You know, we're staying with the police. We keep hearing that the police are, you know, no longer doing all these non-crime hate incidents, not recording them. Turns out they're recording more of them than ever.
Yeah, well, it's not often we praise Labour politicians on this show, I know, but Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, to his credit, did come out recently and he said, you know, we need to put an end to all of this and we need to get back to the basics and
Is this when they were
getting people
celebrating
better.
being anti-white or something?
Something like
in
that,
the
yeah.
NHS this week.
Right. Yeah,
That's your remit. Be anti-white.
Yeah.
But we spend so much on the NHS. It's just a magnet of money. And why? Because they're spending it on all
But
the
all of
wrong
the
things.
maniacs who run it keep turning up on various television shows saying the thing we need is more investment.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you don't. You don't need any more money.
No,
You've
you need to
literally
spend
got more
your money
than
better.
Croesus. Yeah.
You need
exactly.
a business person, and even I got it, man or woman, to go in there and run it as a successful business instead of just an organisation, I think, that spends its money on anybody and everything and misses what it's
Everyone that
supposed to
I
do.
know that I talk to, basically, who works inside of it, will go. In every hospital, there's a cupboard and a room full of stuff that they've ordered that they never use. You know, masks or syringes or they overorder everything, paper, and it's all just shoved in a.
I told you
room.
the story before about my mate whose wife's an A&E nurse, and genuinely, I mean, maybe it means nothing, but I think it's very relevant. She was working a shift some months ago. Guy comes in. The doctor says there's nothing wrong with him. Give him 2 paracetamol out of a pack of 60. They have to throw the other 58 away in case
What?
Yeah.
They throw the other 58 paracetamol away in case they're infected because it was another patient, although it's in a contained box. Genuinely factual.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Throw it away.
That is
58.
incredible.
Yep.
And I mean, Mike, the story
It's
I heard this
mental.
week was about the people who are being prescribed things that you can actually buy in a shop, like shampoo. If you're considered to be, not able to look after yourself because you've got some kind of mental health, doctors are actually prescribing things like shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, and they get a free prescription, so they get the stuff for free. I mean, the world's
Free
not-
prescription for toothpaste.
Yeah.
I thought that was just like a phrase for an insult, like you're so smelly you've been prescribed soap.
Yeah.
But it actually exists, does it?
It does.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
And you've got to throw the rest of the pack away.
Speaking of
course.
disgusting, you've got a really interesting one for us. Rhiannon Evans.
Rhiannon
Sounds
Evans.
Welsh to me.
Well, the Welsh, squelch, all of these phrases will come up because, look, she harassed her boyfriend's ex. This can't be a funny story. Harassment, stalking. Oh, it's terrible.
Surely not.
Until you find out how she did it. It's called cyber farting.
Right.
And she
What?
took
Sorry?
Cyber farting.
Cyber farting.
She took a phone, she filmed herself passing wind, and then forwarded on this image, the video. Now, obviously, as public service broadcast and all that, we should say, don't do this, you'll ruin your phone, if nothing else, won't you? Because you've got to put that phone near your face later.
Yeah.
So don't, and someone will say, like, oh, I like your speckled phone case.
No.
But,
Oi.
Pebble Dash. It's Pebble Dash, yeah, you wipe clean. But, I'm almost in favour of it. Right? Of all the ways to settle your beef, which is not the phrase you're thinking, it would be this. If you could get rid of knife crime and have fart crime instead, no more drive-by shootings and drive-by
So she
gupping.
farts on a phone into her phone and then sends it to what?
Sends it to the boyfriend's ex. There was a bit of an argument about, access to kids between the boyfriend and the ex, and she thought, I'll settle this with some videos of me farting. But
Bizarre.
this is what she's not got. A video of someone farting.
Right.
It's just the sound and you're missing the one sense that is offended by the fart.
Wow.
I mean,
Now,
I would willingly get
you won't be
these videos
surprised to
all
know
day.
that we've dredged our incredible
That's a good
resource
word.
here. Thank you. And
rough.
we've discovered a news report on it. Have a look at this.
A woman from Wales is facing jail after bombarding her boyfriend's ex with videos of herself farting. Rhiannon Evans, 25, has appeared in court today to plead guilty to harassment in Britain's first ever cyber farting case. She is accused of causing distress or anxiety to her boyfriend's ex after sending videos of herself passing wind. The prosecution told the magistrates that in the first video she sent, she proceeds to pass gas by placing the camera on her bottom and passing the gas.
You don't need to do that report. You've trained for 4 years to be a journalist.
I don't think so, listening to him. I don't think he trained at all.
Well, maybe not.
I think they'd found
Can I
him.
just point out, this is
Passing
why
gas.
migrants are waiting 5 years before they're not sent home.
Yeah.
Because magistrates are doing that.
Right. Apparently she got jailed.
For farting.
Literally a load of hot air.
It's the first
got
fart crime.
jailed.
She apparently has got jail time, I've just been told. Fart crime.
Wait till Elon Musk hears about this.
Yeah. You also got a £100 fine, which you'll make up on OnlyFans, because some blokes are into that, aren't they?
I would imagine so.
Do you know,
he sounded confidently like he was aware of the truth there.
Yes.
Some blokes are into that.
Must be.
N. Allen.
If you're a man who's into lady
there'll be a
farting,
website for it.
If you're into women farting, good luck to you. You'll be the only happily married man that will ever have. It's like free, isn't it? You don't realise when you settle down, you will suffer.
When you said you had a partner, do we assume that that's over? Because
I couldn't tell. Yeah, I was breathing.
Join me after the break. We'll get the truth. We're coming right back.
Absolutely right. Well, listen, I don't know what we can. I think we might as well just stop the show now.
The fart wins. The fart wins.
I mean, last week we gave it to the woman who was too fat to get in the car, didn't we? Yeah. That was great. Coming up though, I'm going to introduce you to somebody you might not have heard of before. It's called Jürgen, and it's not the one you think it is either. This is Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham, and we are underway. We've already got 4 very, very good and lively nominations. I'm going to go with my first one, and it's a man by the name of Jürgen Maier, who I don't know whether you've heard of him, Alex, but he is in fact the boss of an organisation called
Energy.
GB
right,
Energy.
Yeah, I know
exactly
Jürgen.
right.
Yeah.
Now, nobody's ever seen this guy before until this week, and he decided to give an interview to a young Scottish news reporter up in Skye. Not Sky the island, but Sky the TV channel. Sorry. Anyway, I digress. Might just have a look at it. Here he is.
Can we be clear as to how many jobs the northeast of Scotland will benefit from?
Great British Energy itself is going to create, over the next 5 years, 200 or 300 jobs in Aberdeen. That will be the size of our team. But look, that is...
They were promised 1,000.
Look, and I said, in the very long term, as we become a major energy champion, it may be many more than that.
What's the very long term?
Well, look, we grow these companies. Energy companies grow over 10, 20 years, and we're going to be around in 20 years as a British energy champion.
So it could take 20 years to get 1,000 jobs.
I mean, it's insane, right? Apart from the fact that he's got the weirdest looking hair, he's gone to the Dale.
You know what?
Barber
He
school,
needs a face coach. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
What's that about?
Also, are we sure that's not the woman who did the sketch earlier?
And also, and he talks there about, they had said they were going to create 1,000 jobs immediately, right? The fact is, right, there is no such thing as GB Energy, right? There is no website for GB Energy.
No office.
There is no office, as far as we can declare from GB Energy. They don't buy anything. They don't sell anything. They don't own anything. There are no shares available in it. You can't do anything with them.
It's a stock photo logo.
It's literally a stock
genuinely.
photo.
They found the stock photo of the logo, GB Energy.
And when he started asking him about, for example, how about the £300 that we were promised that we would save when GB Energy was set up, because that would be make everybody's electricity bills. That is not my remit, he goes. It's not. I have nothing to do with the charging. That's to do with politicians. So they basically set up this shell company, which he now calls not so much a company as a champion. It's an energy champion. It doesn't make any energy. It doesn't move any energy. It doesn't save any energy. It doesn't produce any energy.
This was the centrepiece of Labour's manifesto.
It was.
This was one of the main four things that they were going to do.
Yeah.
Was set up GB Energy.
Yeah, and it's a student university project, basically. I mean, there's nothing.
What did you expect from Ed Miliband then? That's pure Ed Miliband, isn't it? This is a joke.
Didn't it cost like £9 billion?
No, that was
like buying the grid
that
or
was the
something.
Chagos islands.
But that's 18. That's gone up. That's gone up. That's 18.
That's 27 billion.
But I was
done that in 3 minutes.
I was imagining a phone call that would be made, by Ed Miliband at some point to Jürgen, where you go, hello, Jürgen, have you got any energy? No. Are you going to get any soon? No. Have you got any jobs going? No. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean,
what's the point of Jürgen?
What is the point of Jürgen?
Jürgen is a point...
How much does Jürgen earn?
Jürgen's earning plenty.
I'm sure he is.
A six-figure sum.
Not easy to say that Jürgen
And I'm assuming... and we had a great voice note that came in this week from a guy in Wales who said, funny enough, I've just got off the phone with GB Energy. They've offered me a couple of jobs. They want me to be the janitor, the head of operations. He said, it's a bit quiet at the moment. It's just me and Jürgen in the office. There's nobody around. And that's what it's a comedy show. I mean, this is a government. It's like a cardboard cutout company. and it's a cardboard cutout country now. You know, because they actually believe if they say they're going to do something and they do it, that's it done.
That's window dressing.
So we've now got GB Energy. What does it do?
Do they think we're stupid? Does the government think we're stupid, that we're going to fall for this? Yeah.
They must do, because there's no other explanation.
We did, though, didn't we? Or rather, the electorate did.
Well, because they were lied to, Jeremy. I mean, you know, they were lied to. If you're ultimately going to say you're not going to raise taxes, then you do raise taxes.
I don't think it was about being lied. I think it was that the public could stop listening to the Tory party. I think that glass of water could have been elected with the majority. I think they were so...
Also, can I ask, why don't we talk more about the video when Ed Miliband stood in the wind farm playing a ukulele?
With the ukulele,
why don't we talk about that more? That was just...
But he has appeared on Plank of the Week doing that. We have used that video.
We don't use it enough.
I think he's dangerous, though. Seriously, mate. I think he's dangerous.
Well, I'm like you, Alex. I would play it every time we mentioned Ed Miliband, but Chuck doesn't agree with me.
People need to be reminded.
In the same way as you would always play...
Who's Chuck?
Chuck, the producer.
You can change producers. You can't change Mike Graham.
Not anymore, you can't.
Can you not?
Nobody else left.
Well, it's Jürgen. We could call him.
Jürgen. He's got some time. Jürgen, come on down. Jürgen, did you fancy producing? No, I'm very busy.
I love that. Very busy. I don't even...
Anyway, Jeremy, over to you. Sadiq Khan.
What week would be a week on Blank of the Week without Sadiq Khan? Earlier on, half an hour ago, I talked about how 110 councils spent 141 million quid on giving migrants, like, games consoles and yoga lessons.
Do they get monopoly as well?
I don't know whether they get monopoly, but Sadiq Khan has trumped all of that. Excuse me, we're back to farting again. He spent £2 million worth of London's taxpayers' money on what's called woke waste, obviously. 159 plaques and information boards.
Plaque of the Week.
Plaque of the Week. A tribute to anti-slavery campaigners. 5 rainbow plaques. There's one. LGBTQ plus mark, whatever. But also, I think we should salute Cricklewood.
Beautiful thing, it says. What is that?
Can I say? Am I allowed to say what I think? He's a twat, isn't he? Yeah. The Cash also created a Walk of Fame.
That's one for black lesbians, apparently.
Is it?
Seriously, it is.
There's a lesbian on the left with a beard. Who's the lesbian on the left?
Lesbians of Peckham, apparently.
Who's the lesbian on the left?
He's got a bit of a facial hair problem, hasn't he?
And he's also a Walk of Fame stars in the pavement to celebrate migrant workers in Cricklewood. Now,
migrant workers?
Yes, there are. Listen,
working hard on that.
You know, like in Hollywood. The Hollywood Walk of Fame, you know, Burt Reynolds.
Man's Chinese theatre.
Now in Cricklewood, you walk down the road, there's a sort of Walk of Fame, and the stars are, you know, Jürgen.
Can we go on the black lesbian walk in Peckham, maybe?
Maybe.
That might be something
Have
to
you
do
ever walked
on
a lesbian on a Friday night?
I don't think so, no.
I'm overcome by the bloke with the beard, though. Sadiq Khan is honestly, on a serious note, we can sit here and laugh. He's another dangerous, scary, relentlessly ridiculous, idiotic... I don't understand how these people... It's the Mayor of London, man. 2 million quid and people are struggling to do anything normal. It's just a joke and it's not getting any better.
But also, where does he get the permission for this kind of thing?
Doesn't need permission, does he?
Yeah, but I mean, surely he needs to run it past somebody.
We had Susan Hall on this show last week, who was not particularly dynamic in my mind when she stood for Mayor of London for the Conservative Party, asking him directly in the Assembly how many grooming gangs there are in London.
So
and the condescending idiot literally just went, I don't understand the question.
No, he's evil.
That's not stupid.
It's what he does. It's challenging. It's challenging. And go on, say it. I dare you, because I'm going to call you a racist. Come
Absolutely.
on. He's disgusting. And we know that local council bills have gone up, even beyond the cap
they're all bankrupt, aren't they? They're all going bankrupt.
And then you learn about blimmin' Tower Hamlets being run by some sort of weird party called Aspire, which is basically some sort of Islamist venture.
Right.
And, you know, the mainstream media don't care about this, but there's Sadiq Khan holding a new plaque.
A Walk of Fame, stars in the pavement to celebrate migrant workers in Cricklewood, and old people can't get a doctor's appointment. We say it every day now, honest to God, something's going to change, because that can't continue.
The other weird thing that happened this week was that he removed his Twitter pronoun on his Twitter header page. He, him, right? He used to say he, him. It just disappeared.
That's because he wants to be a black lesbian.
He's now apparently, he's claiming apparently that it was a technical error.
I know.
And somebody's going to put it back.
But he can't be Sir Sadiq. What should he be? What's the sort of equality based of being knighted?
Actually, I haven't checked. I want to look actually while we're talking now.
While you're looking up, I was just going to say that the plaques could have been money well spent if at the bottom of each one there was just a little note that said, oh, by the way, stop doing knife crime. Yeah. And you have plenty of adverts around. I mean, you
see, he, him has been restored.
Oh, right.
But it doesn't say Sir Sadiq Khan, it just says Mayor of London Sadiq Khan.
I honestly, I think that anybody should gain inspiration from the fact that if that man can end up as the mayor of London with a knighthood, we can all achieve anything.
You know, they renamed all the London overground lines to be woke things. I mean, that's not all bad, because earlier on I came on the Lionesses, and I've never been able to say that before. So...
I mean,
I have to say we're on fire. We've got bearded black lesbians in Peckham, a Walk of Fame star of migrant workers, and now Steve N. Allen came on the Lionesses.
Yeah. Now, here's another one for you, right? This week...
You missed that joke completely. Trot over it. It's the funniest thing he's ever said.
It's the best joke of 2025.
Completely let that go.
I know, because I wasn't paying attention.
He said they've renamed the lines. Do it again.
Do it again.
When he watches the show, he'll love it.
When he watches it back, you'll laugh.
Oh my God, you're literally supposed to be presenting and you're just messing about with your phone.
I'm doing the research that Chuck Smith has done before we came on.
This is why Jürgen should produce
And you said there's no replacement for Mike Graham.
You better be good now.
Honestly, I think if you just get a glass of wine, watch the show, you will absolutely love it.
I think I can find out later. I think it'll be good. Because what I was going to say to you is that he's bringing together a task force of independent experts to look at how we can reignite London's nightlife. Well, he's the one that killed it off.
Oh, I know, but you know what he's doing? This is amazing, right? Talking about all the rainbow stuff.
Right.
He's actually allowing a massive Islamic centre to be built in the Trocadero. You know that really old sort of place in the middle of Soho?
Leicester Square,
Can you imagine the call for prayer ringing out over the gay clubs as they come out in their, like, you know, in their leather chaps holding people on leads? I can't wait.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
On your knees. OK, then. Oh, my God.
Yeah, I wouldn't bend down that much.
No.
Wow.
Very
you don't know
careful.
who's standing behind
Brilliant.
you.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I should pay less attention more often.
Honestly, it's the best bit ever. Yeah, just read your phone.
Right, Alex, over to you. Sir Tony of
What I'm
Blair.
doing. Oh, yeah, thank you, Tony Blair. Do you know,
He looks
every
quite
time
moderate nowadays, doesn't he?
He looks quite moderate. Every time I visualise Tony Blair now, I always get lockdown Tony Blair with the
hair.
Do you remember?
I was jealous of it.
Yeah.
We were jealous of it.
The long hair, weird.
It was harrowing.
Yeah.
He looked like the sort of landlord who would murder a young girl and chuck her in the canal.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tony Blair, now without mullet again,
Yeah.
he can't help but bring on the ID cards. He loves that.
He loves an
wanted
ID
those
card,
things for so long.
Maybe that's why he's got so many different hairstyles, because he's got so many ID cards. Different looks.
But now, so this idea of bringing back ID cards or bringing them in is to somehow stop populism.
Right. How does that work?
How does that even make sense?
How does that work?
Is it going to be like the Chinese social credit system where it's like, well, you know, according to our monitors, we've seen that you like to post by Nigel Farage, therefore you're not allowed to go and buy Rice Krispies in the supermarket. Like, what is
Well, actually, funny you should say that. It might be more as sinister as that, because that's what in China. That's what they do, isn't it?
The social credit system.
They don't let you go out if you've got too many black marks against you.
First of all, correct me if I'm wrong, but populism is basically about popular policies, i.e. coming from the people. What people
Well,
want
it's only
to
the
happen,
lefties who have made it
which is
as if it's a
supposed to be
bad
how
word. It's a bad
democracy
thing.
works.
Bad thing to be popular.
Well, can't have that. Can't have people having things that are nice.
Right.
And so he wants to bring in this sort of, you know, weird dish. I used to be kind of for it because I'm like, okay, we've got so many people, like 1 in 12 people in London are illegal now, that actually we kind of need some sort of card so GPs can be like, get out. Not that they would.
What do you mean GPs? They don't see anybody. They see only illegal migrants the day after they arrive in the hotel.
Well, you know, get those digital IDs.
All they do, they say, by the way, the Premier League game's that way.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll give you a pass, you can get a palace at the weekend. Joe.
But, you know, on some level, I'm kind of for it.
Yeah.
But not if it's going to sit there and be like, well, you know, we know that you voted the Brexit Party
exactly
all the time.
If it's used for, you know, identification purposes only, fine. But not if it's used to collect information on you, which is then held in some central bank.
I think they'd be useful for things like accessing government services. So at the minute, you've got to have a million different passwords to do your tax return, then sign up to a GP and blah, blah, blah. Make it easy.
Have you ever tried to access the government gateway?
Oh, it's awful.
I mean, I think it took me about 3 days to do.
I'm not even over it. I just had to do my tax. It's still fresh in my mind.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's still too soon.
Do you pay tax?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
We're going back to the Cayman Islands later.
The best thing that Tony Blair came out with this week was actually in that book, the same book called Get In, which was written by those 2 guys from the Sunday Times, where he was describing Keir Starmer as not very interesting. But he also said, in passing, just to stick the boot into his old mate Gordon Brown, he said, at least he's not a nutcase like Gordon Brown.
Unbelievable. Tony Blair does seem moderate, though, doesn't he, compared to what we're experiencing
So does Gordon Brown, actually.
Yeah,
the two of them, you sort of think...
Well, they look like elder statesmen now, because it looks like they actually knew what they were doing, because compared
he
to
was
this lot...
initially, there wasn't he? Blair was a conviction politician. You probably followed him. This one's just dangerous, I reckon. I think this government is dangerous.
I don't think Blair believed in anything.
I'm going to leave here traumatised by the thought of a gay club, an Islamic centre with prayers in the middle of...
And a man on a lead.
And a man on a lead saying, time to bend, boys.
Barking.
Barking.
Coming up, we're going to talk about the railways next, and also the Grammys, a bit of glamour for a change, for Plank of the Week. We'll be back up. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. It's time for Leon Emirali once again. You've got Network Rail.
Network Rail. So they
have... Got to do it in a Keir Starmer voice.
Well, can you not do a train announcement?
Network Rail have put together a 134-page document on how to improve the rail... on how to speak to people.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So we can't use words like husband and wife. We have to say spouse.
Right.
We can't say, of course, man or woman. It's people.
Yeah.
And we can't say the word passenger.
Passengers are
Now,
weird.
I don't get that. The other stuff... I don't know. I mean,
anymore.
but you can't say passenger. So...
How is that an offensive word at all?
I don't get it.
Pass-ender.
134 pages.
Pass-ender. I think that's why it's offensive. I think that's what we're talking
134 pages. You just think that would be great, wouldn't it? Because of course the railways run so smoothly. They've got nothing else to do, so they may as well put together 134 pages.
But who's come up with?
I
mean, who's got the time that works for the railways that can do a 134-page booklet? I mean, that takes quite a long time, doesn't it?
It's because they said, didn't they, this week, that they didn't want people to feel that they were being prematurely judged as to their sexual orientation.
Can you say prematurely?
Well, I do quite a lot. Sorry, I'll say it quickly again. Prematurely, there we go. But no, seriously, and this whole obsession with, we're going to... If you say... What the... You're a passenger.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Although
get your bloody trains to turn up on time.
I use Thameslink quite a lot, and I refer to myself not as a passenger, but as a victim. Or maybe survivor. I'm a survivor of Thameslink, and that's how I like
Are you traumatised?
I'm living with
Thameslink. You're traumatised. I think the lionesses on the Elizabeth line.
Somebody suggested to me this week that if you were guilty of using any of these words, you could be accused of being transphobic, which, of course, would be one of those things that could now become, steeped in truth. Because I don't understand any of this stuff at all. I don't know anyone that would be offended by being called a passenger, or indeed if somebody said, "Is that your wife?" and if it wasn't your wife, what difference does it make? And also, what conversation are you having with a bloke on a train from Network Rail about your wife? Why is he asking about her? Shut up, leave her alone.
Yeah, well, I just don't get it. I mean, I think there's...
somebody else's wife.
There's an idea in these corporations that everyone is offended by everything.
Yeah.
But they're just not.
I mean, I don't... offended by a service that doesn't provide what you pay for, right?
Exactly that. Offended by paying through the teeth for something that doesn't work. That's offensive, not calling you a passenger.
Do you remember that couple from Cornwall, this was last week, I think, or the week before, who had to go to Crewe to get a car, and they worked out that it was cheaper for them to fly from Cornwall to Spain, back to Manchester, and then take a train from Manchester to Crewe to pick up the car, because it was cheaper than going there by rail. I mean, it's just beggars belief, isn't it?
Utterly absurd.
Just ridiculous. But we've got a little clip here of an apology from a woke policeman. Have a look.
Sometimes around here it's like the blind leading the blind. I would like to apologise to Scotland's blind community. I hear your concerns, and I promise you they will not fall on deaf ears. I would like to apologise to the deaf community. I would like to say sorry. When I realised what I'd said, honestly, I had a fit. I apologise unreservedly to all of the epileptics in Scotland for my use of the word fit. I completely understand why you've got a bee in your bonnet. I would like to apologise to anyone connected with bees or the wider bee community.
Scottish comedian doing that. Mr. Doherty is his name, I think.
He's nothing on Steve and Alan.
He's not as funny as Stephen Allen. Is he? No, he's really not. But Stephen Allen, it's up to you. Your final nomination.
Yeah, Kanye. Or not just Kanye, the missus. Not just the missus, the lack of dress. I think that's what we need to talk about
What is going on with those two?
It's hard to tell, isn't it? So, in case you haven't seen the story, honestly, me describing it will not do it justice.
No.
Because it was at the Grammys. Kanye turns up with his missus, Bianca Censori, which I think comes from the Latin for censorship, which is the wrong word
it really is
for
the
what
wrong
this
word,
woman does. And he told her to take her coat off, and she'd only gone and forgotten to get dressed.
So she's got the coat on there.
I haven't seen this yet.
And then she's like a big fur coat by the looks of it. And then she turns her back. She's letting it drape off her shoulders. Here it goes. It looks like she's wearing nothing at all. She's wearing nothing at all. Except for...
Mike Graham!
She's wearing me.
That's better than Gargoyle's meat dress.
That's obviously...
Wow.
The tweets are... her privacy. Now, as far as I understand it, they turned up at the Grammys without an invitation.
Yeah.
And they did that, and then they wouldn't let them in.
Well, I mean, there were rumours that they were thrown out. Surely you wouldn't throw anyone out like that. She's barely dressed for that weather.
Really? Get your coat.
What is the reason? Get your coat, get your hat. Why? Do we know why?
Well, I mean, he looks to me like
mad,
she's got some kind of battered wife syndrome going on because she never speaks. She never appears to say anything to him.
Is it to outdo the ex, Kim Kardashian?
I think so, yeah. He walks
She's a
around,
carbon copy of her, isn't she?
He walks around with her always dressed in the same kind of way where she's practically wearing nothing. And they go all over the world and they don't appear to speak to each other. It's very odd. It's all very strange.
As a husband,
marriage,
I think that's what I mean. In a marriage, the idea that you could say to your missus, "We're meant to have left by now. Just go with whatever you're wearing. She's not dressed yet, and you still leave."
Yeah,
would be amazing. I think that's the only reason they turn up on time.
Exactly right. It's all very odd, isn't it?
How did you feel?
What, covering her like that? Yeah, well, you've got to cover stories you don't always like to cover.
Hey!
Do you know who I do think likes that outfit, though? The bouncers, and I don't mean, I mean, although I'm sure they...
Sorry, you do that.
I'm sure they love the public. But imagine being the security.
Not really close to the pound.
Being the security, and she turns up, you're like, well, I don't need to pat down this one, do I?
No.
If she's got a weapon, by the time she gets it out, we'll all have left.
Yeah, well, there are some places no, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, that was Steve N. Allen, not to be confused with Steve Allen without the N. Coming up, I've got one more nomination, and it's a man who looks like a horse, is all I can say. This is Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. It is the final furlong, if you'll pardon the pun, because we're talking about a man who looks like a horse.
Jump to it, then.
The one and only, that great steeplechaser, Rory Stewart. He's got teeth.
Moira Stewart.
No, not Moira Stewart. No, Rory Stewart.
Rod Stewart.
Yeah, not Rod Stewart.
Rory
Stewart. Not Andy Stewart.
Who's Rory Stewart?
Rory Stewart is the man
that diminutive little idiot that was ran for leader.
He's a former Tory MP. Ran as an independent, I believe, for London Mayor and got about 3 votes.
9.
Has now kind of reinvented himself as a sort of a centrist dad, I suppose people call him, don't they? He does a podcast with the war criminal Alistair Campbell, which is apparently very popular.
Sorry, a centrist dad? Has he had a child?
Centrist dad. Well, he's got 2 kids, I think.
Somebody slept with him?
Yeah.
Wow.
But, I mean, I think she's blind. No. The thing is that he was in the news this week because he's one of these guys who's constantly trying to make himself out to be cleverer than he really is. Just before the American election, for example, he said it was an absolute dead cert. He'd studied all of the form, there it is again, and he decided that Kamala Harris was going to win by a landslide. And he was so convinced that he actually gave an interview to somebody and said, forget about any bet that you've made up until now in politics. This is a dead cert. They're not reading the forecast properly. They're not reading the room right. Everybody thinks it's going to be close. I'm telling you it's not going to be close. I've put £100,000 on it. And, of course, it wasn't close at all, but unfortunately it went the other way, so he lost. And
he struggled to make himself relevant? Is that
I think that's part of his problem. But he decided to pick a fight with J.D. Vance, who's the rather smart...
I think he's very smart.
Vice President of the United States of America, who is a guy who was raised in a very working-class family, had a lot of problems growing up. Unlike Rory Stewart, who went to Eton, had a very well-to-do upbringing, ended up going to the army, I think, and has basically had a pretty easy time of it. Anyway, he got stuck into J.D. Vance because he just keeps being critical of the Trump presidency. I mean, and there was such a great put-down by J.D. Vance. He said the trouble with Rory Stewart is that he's got an IQ of 110, but he thinks he's got an IQ of 130. typical media sort of arrogance of these people that think they get everything right, and they look down on people like J.D. Vance because he's real. Well, here's Rory Stewart reacting to the Twitter spat on Radio 4.
It's all fairly punchy stuff. Vice President says you have an IQ of 110, you think you have an IQ of 130, and this false arrogance drives so much of the elite failure over the last 40 years. Quite a responsibility there.
It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing, firstly, because I discovered when I went down this rabbit hole that J.D. Vance and Donald Trump have a complete obsession with trying to guess other people's IQs. And of course, the assumption is their IQs are enormous, and anyone who disagrees with them doesn't have big IQ.
He's so arrogant.
But you know what I always want to say to people like that is that pomposity that is prevalent amongst all those bedwetters. In America, like him or loathe him, 90 million people voted for Donald Trump. So do one. Do one. Because the people went, you know what? He might have flaws, but he's told us what he's going to do. He's done it from day one, and we could do with that over here. People like him should be nowhere near politics. It's just
He looks like there's been a fire at the Nick Park Plasticine Studios and a Merkin's kind of floated in and got stuck on one of the old models.
It's true. And you remember when he was running for mayor, he used to sort of turn up at people's houses.
And want to sleep on their sofa like a weird sex predator.
There's a great video.
A weird sex predator,
Yeah, but he did. He wanted to have sleepovers.
There's a fantastic video of him walking up to this group of black lads, and they're obviously thinking, who's this absolute moron? And he tries to get down with the kids so much that you just think you look like an absolute prat, Rory, and these blokes are laughing at you.
And this is struggling to be relative.
And the problem with this system that we have here in this country, and why we could never get Donald Trump or similar elected, really, is because it's full of people like him. You know, the political system, you know it better than anyone, Alex, is full of nerdy, clever clogs.
And even when you tell these people, when it's in front of them, that this doesn't work, this costs too much money, people are unhappy, they still tell you that they're wrong, that you're wrong and they're right, and their ideology should win the day.
And because you've got a load of right-wing people voting for you, you're basically stupid and a bigot and an idiot, and the public are actually stupid. I think he actually said at one point that the American public is stupid for having voted for Donald Trump.
That'll do it then. That'll do it, you pump old idiot.
Exactly right. What a terrible advert for Britain. I think it was sent to the Chagos Islands and be done with it. Finally, just before we go or decide what we're going to do as the winning ticket here, Donald Trump was this week asked about the news that Joe Biden has just been signed up by Creative Artists Agency, a talent firm.
To do
look
what?
at what he said.
What do you think about Joe Biden signing on with a talent agency?
You gotta be kidding. He signed on with a talent agency?
Yes, he's got some entertainment agents now.
I think he's got bigger problems than that. I really do. I think he's got much bigger problems than that, but I wish him well.
He's great, isn't he? Just brilliant. So here we are, back to the winning ticket. Who should it be? I mean, I don't think this week it's not Keir Starmer, I don't think.
It's the farting woman.
It can't be.
It's got to be the farting woman.
We talked about, a woman,
last week
went to court about farting and I didn't do a joke according to her briefs. So you've got to give me some credit for that.
Very good. Well, I mean, I don't object to that. It's just that last week we sort of went slightly off-piste and gave it to the fat woman for not being allowed into the car because they said she'd crushed the tyres. I mean, I quite like Jürgen. I know it's my nomination.
Oh, I do quite like Jürgen.
Jürgen as the boss of a completely,
that is good.
Ridiculous organisation.
You wouldn't have time to pick up the award because he's...
I mean, I don't know. Local councils as well, 141 million quid.
I mean,
it's an awful lot of money.
That's pretty shocking, and Sadiq's won it loads. I think if you're, I like the Jürgen.
I like Jürgen.
I think Jürgen being in charge of GB Energy, a non-existent company, a completely and utterly bogus organisation which has no employees.
Could you just do your impression of him again?
Jürgen. Hello, Jürgen. Jürgen, have you got any energy?
Is that you, Jürgen?
No. Are you going to have any staff anytime soon? No. Jürgen, would you like to accept this on behalf of GB Energy?
Yes.
Flag of the week. Enjoy your party with, celebrate with all your fellow workforce.
On your own.
On your own. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you to Jeremy Carr. Thank you to Alex Phillips. Thank you to Leonie Emirali. And to Steve and Alan, not to be confused with the other one. We'll see you this time next week.